A narration tells us about the 24th Ward, which is a man-made island next to Tokyo. Unfortunately, a fire breaks out in the Takara school, and Shuta Aoi makes his way inside to save Asumi Suido. Unfortunately, she sacrifices herself to save her friend, Kozue. 1 year later, Shuta goes for Asumi's memorial service, as do his friends Ran Akagi and Koki Suido. Koki's father Gori is the mayor of the city, so he asks his subordinate Sakiko Tsuzuragawa to place a tracker on his son. The boys are reunited, and we learn that they used to go by the name RPG. Now Gori addresses the public and states that the arsonist of the school fire hasn't been caught yet. We also see Kozue suffering from the guilt of losing Asumi. Koki and Ran leave almost immediately after the service, and we learn that Ran leads a rebel group called Dored. The boys reunite at their friend Mari's restaurant, where they have a meal and talk about the crime prediction system known as Hazard Cast. However, as they enjoy their meal, they surprisingly get a call from Asumi. Upon answering it, they are hit with an electrical surge and are told about the Kizuna train with 150 passengers, which is going to kill Mari later on. They are given an option to save one of the two, and then they meet their mentor Shirakaba, also referred to as Kaba. He takes the boys away, and Koki places his tracker on Mari's dog Daisy to avoid Sakiko. After realizing that all three of them received the same call, the boys track Mari through Daisy and call her, but she gets pushed and loses Daisy, so she chases after her. The boys unite and rush towards the station, while also experiencing new powers. Ran's friend Kinako spots Mari, who gets stuck in the rails, so he warns Gori about it through a drone. Gori doesn't know what to do, so Koki tells him not to derail the train. Ran triggers the brakes, and then Shuta rushes to the scene and saves Mari, after which the train also stops safely. Now Shuta thinks that Asumi is alive, but the others disagree, and it leads to an argument amongst them. Later, Mari learns of the upcoming Gourmet Festival and begins her preparations to win the Grand Prix. She meets Shuta to ask for menu ideas, and then he tells her about the call and the vision. However, Mari tells him that it was a prank and he should mend things with the other boys. She goes to meet Ran and Koki as well, and we see constant flashbacks to when she and the others were just kids in school. Later at night, Mari sees Kaba and a Sarge officer named Wataru Tsukushi talking about the Yabusane clan and their vested interests in the fest. Mari confronts Kaba about it, but he reassures her that everything is under control. Later, Mari thinks back to the night of the fire and becomes emotional after remembering how she lost Asumi. She goes back home and is happy to see the boys there as they decide to help her win the fest. An evil businessman named Hajime Taki fixes the result of the fest so that his mall can be built on the shopping strip. We learn that Kozue is Kaba's daughter as he asks her to come for the fest, but she refuses. Taki's Mon Jungle squad buys all the cabbage from the local stores, so Mari and the boys are at a disadvantage. But Kaba luckily comes to the rescue. Then we see Kozue deciding to go for the fest as she wants to meet Kinako. The competition gets underway and the ballots are counted later, but Wataru reveals to the boys that Taki has fixed the results and had threatened to expel Kozue from her school if Kaba refused. However, Kaba does the right thing and exposes Mon Jungle for their deceit. Then the boys get a call from Kasumi and they're told about an upcoming tornado. Once again, they have to choose between two situations, but there will be casualties this time. They get to work immediately, and Koki asks Kaba for help. Ran hacks into the traffic system and gets more cargo trailers for people to hide, while Shuta clears the bridge and allows people to pass. However, Ran's trailers block the bridge again, and suddenly the tornado arrives. Kaba motivates the boys to do their best, but then he sees Kozue in danger, so he goes to save her. Shuta tries his best to rescue both of them, but Kaba is eventually taken in by the tornado. Later, as the news reports on the casualties, the boys lament losing Kaba. However, a person named Carniades takes over the TV screens with the logo of a reverse phoenix and takes credit for the tornado. Gori is questioned about the tornado, and Carniades has no answer. The phoenix logo starts showing up everywhere, and then Koki learns about a substance named Drug D showing up in a shanty town. Ran and his team take down one of the people suffering from drug D withdrawals and worry about how quickly it's spreading. Later in the night, Shuta finds Kozue wandering by herself and offers help, but he says that he should have saved Kaba instead of her, and then she runs away. Now Shuta bumps into a drug dealer on the loose and chases him. Koki stops the criminal and tells Shuta about drug D. Then he learns about Kozue and they go search for her. She runs into a man named Kunai and they strike up a conversation on some graffiti based on Kaba. Kunai tells her that the art has been made by Rad, who is actually Ran. Later, Ran shows Shuta his art and talks about how Sarge shouldn't only rely on data and hazard cast. Now Shuta meets Kazue and they have a happier conversation regarding her father. Kozue calls him her hero, but then Carniades comes back to the screens and the boys reunite. They get a call from Asumi, who says that a ship named Winners is about to be detonated, and they can either let it happen or kill the terrorist. It seems to be an easy choice, but Ran realizes that the terrorist is actually Kunai. A flashback shows us Ran and Kunai hanging out as friends, meeting a renowned graffiti artist named as Zeroth. As Koki and Shuta talk about their plan of action, Ran gives them a false lead and tries to handle the situation by himself. Shuta spots Tami entering Winners with a small box and reports it to Koki, who tries to alert the ship, but with no luck. A flashback shows how Kunai was insecure as he didn't have any artistic skills, so he used his hacking talents to help Ran. Now Ran enters Kunai's house and does some research, after which he learns that Kunai had also created drug D. He tells the others that Taki has the bomb, so Koki and Shuta get to work. Ran realizes that Kunai was exploited by a millionaire named Howard Wynn, and then a flashback shows us how Taki tricked Kunai into selling his Diva music app, which he then modified into drug D, thus making a drug with no physical form. We learn that Kunai found out about this and wanted to punish Howard for his crimes, so he made the bomb and tricked Taki into thinking it's an improvement on the software. Now Ran meets Kunai and they argue while Koki realizes that Ran tricked him. He orders Sarge Agent to shoot and kill Kunai before he can trigger the bomb, and it breaks Ran's heart. He thinks of rebelling, but Kunai stops him before dying, and then Koki arrests him. Luckily, Ran's team shows up and saves him from the cops. This leads to Sarge framing Dored as a criminal organization. Ram informs his team about Howard wanting to make Shantytown his personal casino, and then he learns of how the cops are ill-treating Kunai's grandmom. Koki tells Gori about Asumi's calls, but he doesn't listen. Now Kunai's pre-recorded video is released. He says that he made the base for drug D and tells everyone how he was tricked into giving it to Howard. He also says that Dorid is innocent and asks the town to stand up against Sarge. Gori senses trouble, so he takes Koki to Cornucopia, which is the core of Hazard Cast. They visit the Kane system built in honor of Koki's mom, Kane. After this, Koki is shown the brain of the system and is shocked. Meanwhile, Shuta meets Ran, who warns him that Koki will betray them both. Shuta meets Koki later, who says that their school is going to be taken down. They argue about their priorities and a flashback shows us how Koki once ratted on Ran for stealing apples, but later learned that he had only done it for his hungry friends. Now Gori reveals the Kane system to the public and asks them to test it out. They are asked to risk their privacy for safety and it divides them. That's when we learn that Kana is actually powered by Asumi's dead body. Sadly, Koki also exposes Ran to Sarge, and then we see that the creator of the Carniades logo is actually Zeroth. Time passes by, and all seems to be going well with the Kane system. Ran and his team try to expose Sarge, so they are always on the run. Now Shuta thinks back to when he first met Asumi during a baking event. However, he struggles to bake his father Louis' signature golden sunrise bun. Later, Kozue calls him and shows how Kaba's painting has been spoiled by Carniades. Shuta tries calling the others, but it's of no use, so he goes to meet Kinako. However, she says that Ran didn't let her join him as she wasn't identified with the others. Shuta strangely starts staring at women a lot, and it alarms them. He also keeps looking for Carniades but with no luck. He starts to doubt himself and passes out in the bath while thinking about Asumi. Kinako tries to revive him, and then Louis luckily arrives to save his son. Now Shuta finally discovers the key to making the right plan, and one of his customers ends up leading him to Zeroth. Upon meeting him, Shuta learns that Zeroth is an accomplice of Carneades. Zeroth gives him a clue regarding his location, so he acts on it. But then the boys get another call from Asumi, and see how the cranes of Cornucopia will end up killing Carneades when he tries to fix a wire. Now Rand confronts Zeroth, who tells him the dangers of Kane, and that the powers they get from Asumi's call is called Cypher, which comes from Drug D. Then he asks Rand to hack into Kane and he agrees. Koki warns Sakiko about the vision, but she cuts the call, and this worries him. Shuta meets Rand as the cranes start acting up, and he says Carneades should die, but Shuta goes ahead to save the villain. Rand's team activates a fake fire alert, and he uses this distraction to infiltrate the Kane system. Things get tense as Carneades is struck and seemingly killed, but then Shuta learns that she is actually Sakiko. A flashback shows us that she had told Koki about this earlier and mentioned that Kane was suffering from glitches. That's when we learn that Asumi's consciousness is still alive in the system, even though she is biologically dead. Shuta doesn't give up and manages to revive Sakiko, after which he takes her to the hospital. Suddenly Asumi awakens and Rand notices it when he's in the system. He hands over the info to Zeroth and learns that he plans to hack into the 24th Ward mainframe. A flashback shows us that Zeroth was Kane's colleague, Kuchikiri, who became dyslexic after an AI-related accident led him to getting injured over a young Sakiko. Kane felt bad for him, but Gori motivated her to carry on with her work, after showing how Zeroth became a great artist after the incident. They get married and have children, after which Sakiko joins Kane's lab. One day Sakiko meets Wataru, and they get off to a shaky start, after which Wataru meets Zeroth, who says he's going to New York to study more graffiti. Gori creates the Suido Academy for Kane, and they have a nice chat, but then Kane goes to help a lost person. However, she stabs her, despite Wataru trying to save her at the very last moment. Kane sadly dies from her wounds, and Gori decides to finish her project using Sakiko. One day Wataru notices the project cornucopia papers and tells Zeroth about it. He confronts Gori, but is sent away by the guards. Then we see a horrible accident that led to Asumi's death, and then Gori makes the decision to use his daughter's body to act as the brain for the Kane project. The city is in a delicate situation over recent events, and Koki orders Wataru to leak info on Kinako in order to catch Rand. Some goons attack her, and things are about to get tricky, but Rand can't interfere as it's a trap laid out for him. Luckily, Shuta comes to the rescue. Kane continues to show errors, but Koki ignores it for now. Then Zeroth takes Rand to Taki, who says that he can manipulate the result of the Kane system vote by using personalized ads that had also worked during the Carneades incident. Later, Shuta notices some Sarge agent going after Kozue and getting attacked by a mob, so he stops them from hurting the officers. However, Kozue tells him that she's joined Dored and is against Sarge. Kane starts to grow worse when it labels Shuta as a criminal for no reason. Now Sakiko awakens and tells Shuta everything about Kane and how it created Asumi's consciousness. Then she reveals that there's a way to put Asumi in an eternal slumber, and it puts Shuta in a tricky spot. More errors show up on the Kane system, and Koki worries that Asumi's consciousness has awakened. Sakiko maintains that Asumi is biologically dead, but then Wataru arrests Shuta as he is still listed as a criminal. Now we learn that Sakiko's CMD data drive is with Wataru, and it is the key to prove Asumi's existence to Gori. Meanwhile, Wataru tells Shuta that the real cause of the school fire was a short circuit caused by rats. A flashback shows how Shuta got into an awkward situation with Asumi and saw the rats but got distracted and forgot about it. Now Wataru gives him the CMD and says he can use it however he wants, but Shuta feels like he's been given an unfair choice. He tells Mari about it, and then she reveals that even she had seen the rats that day. Then she tells him that he should talk to Asumi for closure. Meanwhile, Rand motivates the rebellion, but worries about the collateral damage. Zeroth gives him Kunai's Diva data, and then Mari shows up with a message from Shuta. Sakiko also meets Koki, who is losing it, so she slaps him and passes on the same message. The boys go to meet Shuta at the location he mentions, and then he shows them the CMD. An extended argument breaks out over what to do. It gets really ugly, and then all three of them break down. After a final punch, they use their brain and realize they can use Kunai's data to meet Asumi. However, she is nervous to see them, so she calls their phones. The trio answers and she shows them the outcomes of their possible choices. Asumi bids them farewell, but the boys get to work anyway. She starts controlling the traffic to stop them, but Shuta uses his new gear to tackle it. Then Asumi loses control and causes everyone to be listed as a terrorist. Our heroes make their way to Cornucopia, and Asumi does her best to restrict access, but then Koki suggests using the trash disposal system. After a brief struggle, Asumi gives in and allows her friends to access the core system. Now the boys become digital avatars and enter her world. As tensions increase, Asumi shows herself to everyone on their screens, and they watch her conversation with the boys. She rebukes them for making this so difficult for her, but they win her over with their words. Asumi finally lightens up, but Shuta doesn't want to leave her. He says he loves her and she says the same, after which everyone in Ward 24 follows through. Sadly, Asumi says it's time to move on and she says goodbye. In a painful sequence, she finally disappears and our heroes are brought to tears. Now everything is back to normal as we see Koki heading a new division, Ran working with Sakiko, and Shuta saving a kid from a goon. And that's the end of the show. Like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. Hit the bell icon for regular notifications as well. See you soon!